one thing a lot of people struggle with when it comes to anime is that a lot of anime has a very surface level take on sex and sexuality, like gender, etc. And there's an anime out recently, I think called, I forget exactly the name. One second. It's called I'm in Love with the Villainess. And it's a Yuri anime about, a girl who loves girls. And it's pretty cute. It's nothing really to write home about, but this scene struck me to my core because it is a scene you never see in this genre. Like, you never see it. Ever. There's not... They do not have frank discussions about gender or sex in a lot of, like, boys love anime or Yuri anime. Like, there's none of that. It's usually just like, oh, we're attracted to each other and everyone just happens to be kind of okay with it and it's fine. But here we go. You cannot see it. Awesome. I love when that happens. It's my favorite goddamn thing.
Ray, tell me, am I correct in assuming that you're what they call gay?
Miss Misha, don't you think that's an awfully personal question to ask in this setting? It's an awfully personal question for any setting, if you ask me.
It doesn't bother me to talk about it, but why do you want to know?
Well, you are my best friend, so I'm curious.
I mean, I guess. If it means I like girls, then yeah. I've never been in love with a guy before. Hey, you don't look so good. What's the matter?
I'm sensing that I am in danger! That's what!
That's not fair. I understand you might be leery of Ray, given how she often behaves. But Miss Claire, to react that way just because she's gay? It says more about your ignorance than it does her character.
I'm sorry. Usually the bit would end like, oh, it's so cute that, like, she's repulsed by another girl liking her, right? Like, that would be the end of the bit. Like, haha, it's just normal spurning. You gotta keep pursuing them, even though they've told you no. Ha 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 ha. But this anime takes it a little bit deeper and gets a bit more real with it in a way that is very useful to the demographic that this type of show targets,
I'll explain. Let's say, as an example, that you are straight.
I am straight, Misha!
And you're madly in love with Prince Thane, aren't you?
You're the one who mad loved me!
Ray, the jokes aren't helpful. So, tell me, Miss Claire, how would you feel if a man came up to you and said, "Don't molest me"?
What? I would never conduct myself in a lecherous manner!
Of course you wouldn't. And yet, you basically accused Ray of the same thing. You said you were in danger.
Yeah, you're so right, Misha. It doesn't work like that. No one lusts after everyone who fits their gender preference. Doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. Attraction is based on the individual.
Yes, that's true. I see your point. You're saying you fall in love with the person and not their gender, right? And currently the one you're in love with just happens to be a woman. Is that the case?
No, I mean, not exactly. I wouldn't say gender doesn't matter at all.
Oh, then it does?
Yeah. I get the logic behind saying gender doesn't matter when you deeply connect with someone. Like, love is love. But I can say for sure that I'll never have those kinds of feelings for a man.
I guess all of this is more complicated than people think.
Some people never have the chance to learn. They can't help that.
Like, holy shit, that is an incredibly nuanced and clear message to say to people who view shows like this, like, and again, you might say, oh, but Jack, there are lots of shows. Like, what about Steven Universe, or insert plethora of, the new age of gay American shows? And you might be right about that. But that isn't necessarily the case for anime. Typically, in anime, they do not communicate bluntly like this and often the topic is danced around, and kind of they live in just a bubble where it's not a problem, you know? Which is not congruent or accurate to the situation many people in Japan find themselves in. In fact, it was just this week that a Japanese court for the first time ruled that it's unconstitutional to require genital surgery for gender change. Prior to this week, if you wanted to change your gender in Japanese documents, you had to get surgery to sterilize yourself. Like that was a requirement in 2023. Oh, you want to have an official recognition of the fact that you're trans? You have to go and get sterilized. We don't want you breeding, after all. But that has now been struck down. So we have a Japan W. Which, by the way, is pretty rare considering that Japan as a whole is a pretty conservative-leaning nation. And I say that in a diplomatic way because it is it trends, it's conservative in a way that trends towards authoritarian and possibly fascistic. Like Shinzo Abe was not a left-leaning political figure by any means. Okay? So the fact that they're racking up W's for trans people, huge deal. The fact that their media is now reflecting more LGBTQ friendly characters and conversations is wild, you know? I mean, like growing up, like I watched a fair amount of anime, like not necessarily in high school, a little bit in high school, but mostly got into it in college. And I can tell you, like, while there is a lot of like homoerotic innuendo, you can find trans characters here and there. There are characters who are gay. You know, maybe they show up a bit more in anime than they would have typically, you know, in that time period in American media, but they were never treated particularly well. Like, in fact, it was rare to see a trans character show up and them not be considered like a freak of nature, you know? Like one of the more famous ones that was treated kind of okay was in Cowboy Bebop. And that was like an intersex character who like everyone freaked the fuck out about, like in the show. You know, it's transphobia was expected and par for the course, and so was like, oh, you're gay, everyone needs to freak out about it. You know, that was normal. Am I talking about Edward? No, I'm talking about the like mercenary or something who shows up for like an episode. It's in the middle of the series. If you don't remember what I'm talking about, go back and rewatch it.